Are you one of the 75% of contractors whose financial statements are inaccurate? Find out. Click on the link in the show notes and you'll get a free P&L and balance sheet check.
This is Contractor Sense with Ruth King.
Welcome to Contractor Sense. Here you discover ideas, tactics, news, and information that matters to your contracting business and you. I'm your host, Ruth King. This episode is sponsored by Financially Fit Business. Make your financial statements come alive. Stay financially healthy this year. Go to www.financiallyfit.business and get started today. Thank you for joining us. Here's how we will help your business and you. One of the first thoughts when you see that your company is not profitable is to cut people. Sometimes this is the worst thing you can do. It kills morale, people have to do the departed people's jobs, and much worse. So, how can you cut costs without cutting staff? My guest today, Lynn Wise, answers these questions. Lynn is the CEO of Contractor in Charge, a company dedicated to helping home service businesses by providing trained customer service pros and bookkeeping assistant. Lynn, welcome to Contractor Sense.
Hey, thanks for having me, Ruth.
My pleasure. Usually, when I saw your background and everything else along those lines, normally the two, customer service and bookkeeping, are like opposite ends of the spectrum. Why did you combine them?
It's where I come from. I owned a plumbing and heating company for 15 years. And so when I retired from IBM and decided to come back to the trades, I knew these were two functional areas of an operator that they struggled with. So I elected to focus on both of those. And they are on the opposite end of the stick, but as you know, many operators try to combine them. So that's an interesting thought in itself. But yeah, that's why I decided to focus on it. So we have two completely different departments.
Yeah.
They're not integrated by any means. And what we offer is based on need of the client. So do you need full service accounting or do you need a booking center? So it's a very different request. Sometimes our clients do both, but for the most part, they do one or the other.
Yeah, it's interesting because they understand they need the bookkeeping piece of it because they don't understand their financials, which is my background anyway. But a lot of times it's really the people on the phone who are killing the company.
So I have a different way of looking at it.
Okay.
Than a lot of people do. So I actually think it's because of the way that we have designed the roles that it kills the company.
Okay, let's talk about it.
So I look at, and let's talk about front office. Think of front office just in general, what we would think of front office being. So that's typically your CSR and your dispatcher.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, and this is after now 9 years of doing this business, they are very different roles. And
definitely. Yeah.
So but that's those two. The one that gets complicated is the CSR, who is the chief cook and bottle washer of everything in the kitchen. And that is not true, nor should it be true. So there are definitely 4 distinct roles in the front office, one being qualifying and booking appointments, which are all things leads, whether they're digital or their voice. The other one is customer service. Third one is your dispatcher and field. And the last one is inside sales. And my view of the world is not only are they different distinct roles, but they also are different attributes in people's skill set. Yeah. And so just because you're a CSR doesn't mean that you're good at customer service or customer service and booking calls. I'd argue that would not be true. They're different skill sets.
Yeah, it's really interesting because one of my new clients, one of the people who was basically CSR, that was her title, but she turns out she's phenomenal at inside sales. So we pulled her out of CSR and we I don't want to say dumped her, but we put her into an inside sales role and she's so much happier there. She's amazing.
Happier, the skill set's more fitted. By the way, the thing that really highlights this is the continuous conversation that the CSR is to blame because they didn't answer the phone. And I say, bullshit.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay. They can't control concurrency of call. And you've given them 10 pounds of potato to put in a 5-pound sack. Meaning that if I'm on a call that is customer service, quote unquote, based, non-revenue generating, and I now have 3 leads that hit my queue and she can't answer them, whose fault is that?
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you. Yeah.
So I think we have, and I come from old school. I did it the old school way. So, my first approach was to do it the way I had been trained and the way I ran my company. But it really took us about 6 years of doing call center just to really come up with, we're not doing it right. And neither are our clients.
Yeah, it's really interesting because a lot of times people don't think about that. And they look at it, as you said, the CSR is one role and they got to juggle 27 balls in the air at once. And that's not fair to them, especially when it gets busy. I mean,
it's not fair to your company.
Yeah.
If you want to minimize cost and maximize effort, then you need to look at what needs to be done. And by the way, not only what needs to be done, who's best skilled and has the best attributes to do it and can do it at their full caliber. And also, you don't need all 4 things at once.
No.
Or maybe you do. And if you do, that's a different equation. So, I think one of the interesting things I see is where you have an operator come in and they're frustrated because they can't answer the phones and they're outbounding 20 calls a minute or an hour or something like that. It's like, how the hell do you think they're going to be on the outbound and answer inbound too?
You can't.
That's correct. That is correct. However, the business needs both, right? So the business needs both. So now you have to structure roles and responsibilities so that you can cover those functional areas. And so, this kind of comes back to what the original equation was when we started here, in the discussion we were going to have is how do you outsource, cut cost and not cut people? Have the right people in the right seats. That's the answer.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Then build that role and responsibility to drive the results that you need in your business. And by the way, that may not be a full-time position.
Yeah.
So, we've kind of given us our own rope to hang ourselves with.
Yes.
And I can tell you on any given day, and this is not any criticism to the population of a CSR, they're at most 50% productive.
Yeah, they're trying to do too many things.
Well, and utilization is another thing. So you pay somebody for 8 hours, and the question is, how are they utilized to drive the behavior or drive the function that you need? So in the case of booking, which is the critical, pivotal door that all the marketers want to gripe about, if you're pulling that person off, or I'll say not providing discipline so that they can do what they are intended to do, then I don't know whose problem this is. It's not ours.
So before we take a break, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do it?
Lynn at contractorincharge.com, LYNN. And our website is contractorincharge.com. Phone number is listed on the website, 813-303-1060.
Very good. And we will be right back. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense.
Imagine you had total freedom. You didn't have to worry about money. You didn't have to be a slave to your business. The words, I can't, are eliminated from your vocabulary. What if you could do what you want to do, whenever you want to do it? A financially fit business could give you that freedom. How? By knowing what your financial statements are telling you and taking action based on what they say. You can do this in less than 10 minutes a month, at an investment of less than taking your family out to dinner once a month. And if your financial statements are a mess, you can get help. Go to www.financiallyfit.business or click on the QR code below to get started today.
We're back. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense. I'm speaking with Lynn Wise, who is the CEO of Contractor in Charge. And before the break, we really dissected the CSR role. And looked at it in terms of qualifying and bookkeeping as one function, customer service being another, dispatch being a third, and inside sales being a fourth. All right, so assuming
What about qualifying and booking, not qualifying and bookkeeping? You say qualifying. and bookkeeping.
I'm sorry, qualifying booking.
Yeah.
I've got bookkeeping on the mind because you also do that, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we do that too.
So somebody says, okay, I'm listening to this podcast and I agree with you. And how do you train them individually? I mean, if somebody says, I want to hire you, do you come back and do you train them individually? How does that kind of work?
You mean a client?
A client.
Oh, what we like to do is, one, help them analyze what their problem is, and then provide a solution to them that is going to address the problem. So let's just take the whole piece of I'm missing too many calls. Let's just use that one as a good example. So we really dissect that and say, okay, let's look at your call volume. Let's look at the type of calls that are coming in. When are they coming in? How do you staff? And then help them decide, can they staff differently? We're not all about, just us doing the work. It's how to help us be a partner so that we can partner with your company. You do what you do best and let us do what we do best.
Yeah. I prefer that clients implement and we oversee.
But in this world of the call center, we are very much in recommendation that you use the proper routing of the call to get the customer where they intended to be in the first place. And I know there's adverse reaction to an IVR making an announcement, but I'm going to tell you, it is a very efficient way to route calls. That versus where AI is today, where AI, people do not like it, but IVRs they're used to. And it's taking them 20 years to do it. So IVRs can be implemented in such a way where it's very effective and very concise. It's not about doing 20 minutes of advertising. It's not about giving a dissertation about your services. It's about offering simple choices so that the caller can select the one that fits their need. Let them be handled by the resource that can handle them the most efficiently.
All right. And in case somebody doesn't know what IVR is, explain what that terminology is, please.
Sure. An IVR is an interactive voice response. It's your auto attendant at the front of a call. It does the announcement and routes the call.
Yeah. It's basically, thank you for calling so-and-so, press 1 for this, press 2 for this, press da 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 da.
Correct. And all of your voice, your VO IP phones today have all of that built in.
Yep.
You can record your own. And so it's very easy to do versus years ago, it wasn't easy to do.
Yeah. So, and years ago, people hated it too. Now they're very used to it.
They're very used to it. And the thing that is definitely different about us as a service provider industry versus, let's say you call a cable company, right? Or T-Mobile, you expect to get an IVR.
Yeah.
And so by the way, their IVRs are usually horrible, but they've done that for their own education and training reasons for their customers. We don't need to have all that. We need to be very precise and very effective at asking or helping the caller decide where they need to be to have their problem or their question answered.
Absolutely. All right, let's switch gears to the other side of what you do, which is bookkeeping assistance. Do you actually do the bookkeeping or do you oversee it?
Oh, no. We are full service accounting.
Okay.
We are 100% full service accounting. My whole staff, I have 20 degreed accountants on my staff.
Cool. Very good.
So everything we do is digitized. So we're all digital. And in today's environment, that is very easy to do. And it's very attainable and quite honestly, very affordable. So with the solutions that are in the accounting space today, QuickBooks Online, digital filing systems, AP automation, that is all very attainable and all very easily achieved.
That's good. All right. So if somebody wants to do that, they can do that separate and apart from the customer service part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So very good. All right. So let's talk a little bit about expectations. You walk in to a client, you help them, you do the analysis and everything else like that. What can a client expect? I'm not talking about the bookkeeping side. I'm talking about the customer service side, because I think everybody knows what bookkeeping is all about.
Not really, but we can pretend they do, but no, they don't.
They don't know the financial side of it at all. But anyway,
well, they don't know the accounting side of it.
Yeah.
So they don't understand the accounting side of it, and they know that they're supposed to have something different, but they don't know how to get to that end game. And it's primarily because the business owners that our community exists of, do not have the proper background to hire, train, and manage that resource.
Yeah.
So it all comes down to, if you don't know how to hire, train, and manage it, don't hire them. Outsource it. It's real simple.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's talk about expectations. We talked about not cutting staff, so we can actually do this. And you mentioned, as we were talking through this, that some of these positions could be part-time. Explain.
Or realigned. I like the word realigned better first,
Okay.
and then part-time, because if your volume is such and your need is such, and you can, and where we want to set our expectations, what we know how to do really well is qualify and book calls, and we know how to do outbound sales. That's what we know how to do really well. We can take messages like every other call center can, but what is inefficient with that is that it requires them not getting their question answered and not being serviced at that time, because we don't have the proper information to service that customer. For example, I need to pay a bill. I need an invoice. I would like to know when my job can get scheduled and when my parts are going to be in. Hey, so-and-so called me. Can I talk to them? And what we see, because there is inefficiency in how our clients have designed it, is that we can take a message, have somebody call them back. They call them back, and guess what happens? We end up taking another message.
That's right. It's telephone tag.
And it's not efficient, and it's not a good customer experience. So what we would do is that we would set up the proper routing so that you give us the phone lines that we should answer, and you route customer service and any dispatch related items directly to your internal team, and have them focus on customer service and anything that's related to the field. And many of us may know this, I don't know, but we've tracked statistics on inbound calls for 9 years. I can tell you that on any given day, any phone call, 28 to 30% of the calls that come in are bookable leads. The rest of it is everything else.
Very good.
And so the everything else does two things. If you've got a third-party center like us, one, it increases your cost. Two, it lowers your inefficiency. And three, the customer experience suffers. So don't do that. Give the calls to the right resource so that they can handle that the most efficiently and the most effectively to maximize customer experience and minimize cost. So that's how we advise our clients. If we end up taking a message because you're out to lunch or something like that, we got you, right? But that should not be the norm.
Yeah.
And so even though often we're referenced as the after hour, no, that's not true. We are many times a supplemental or a full-time rollover to an office. That isn't how it's ever planned. That's not how it's ever designed. And by the way, most of the time it's the way that we are asked to staff on normal is for a very low call volume. And then one day you get 600 calls.
Yep. First hot day.
Yeah. So the design of it and managing expectations with the clients for us is very big.
Good. Very good. Give us your website again one more time and your email.
Contractorincharge.com, LYNN@contractorincharge.com.
Lynn, thanks so much for being with us.
You're welcome, Ruth. Thanks for having me.
And thanks to all of you for joining us. Choose one thing that you discovered and implement it in your business. These ideas, tactics, and strategies help you make more money, have more free time, and give back. If you like today's program, spread the word. Please review this podcast on any device you're listening to it on. Help a fellow contractor make more money too. For comments or questions, call me at 770-729-0258 or email Ruth King at hvacchannel.tv. Thanks for listening. Have a great and profitable day.